Assalamu alaikum everybody. In today's video we're gonna watch a Jubilee video where 9-year-old kids talk to 90-year-old people about death. Let's check it out and see what they have to say.
I'm afraid of death. Those who agree, please step forward.
I feel like life is really short and you have so much to achieve in that period. And in that short period, you need to show the world your purpose.
Yeah, it's like I actually had a close-death experience not that long ago, and that was scary, so I'm going to say it is even scarier to actually have it happen.
Well, death is probably going to be scary for me because I'm a crybaby.
Now can I have the disagreeer step forward?
Death is part of living. It happens to everybody, to some people sooner than others. But the important thing is to try and live your life how you think you want to live it.
I agree with you. And I honestly thought that I was ready for death until if I'm bleeding, I'm already scared and crying, and I'm already thinking that I'm dying if I'm already bleeding.
But death is just a part of life. I equate death sometimes with a tree. What is happening to the trees now with their leaves?
They're falling.
They're falling, that's right. They're getting ready for new leaves to come in the springtime. And it's just a natural part of life.
Yes. Okay.
Now that I'm getting to my twilight years, I am wondering what is going to happen after I pass away. And that
Finally, someone who asks the tough question, because yeah, you can be okay with dying or you can fear death, but most people just stay on that level. But this guy is wondering what's going to happen afterwards, That's something everybody should ask themselves, Most people don't want to go there. Most people think their life has no consequence, there's nothing afterwards, so why bother thinking about it? It's worth exploring because that's ultimately what's going to happen to every one of us.
way. And that is the thing that I think about more than anything else. I'm not a believer of God, and I always just wonder what is the purpose of being born and what is going to be the hereafter. That is something, of course, no one will be able to give you an answer on that, but I do believe in reincarnation. I feel that I'm coming back to Earth as maybe a newborn or maybe as an animal or something like that.
In our
You see, this is so crazy that the guy completely dismisses religion in an Abrahamic way, maybe Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, because he can't justify the existence of God. But he's okay with the reincarnation, for which there is zero evidence. It doesn't make any sense because that's a Hindu religion. So he is religious in a Hindu sense. He just doesn't believe in actual God. Many people in the West live like this, that they don't believe in God because they cannot justify his existence. There can't be God because there's so much suffering, there's so much evil, or this happened in my life, or if there would be a God, there would be a scientific evidence for it, we would know it. So there is no God, the universe just kind of created itself. But even if, let's presuppose, even though it's wrong, that reincarnation is true, how does reincarnation explain the beginning of the universe? It doesn't. How does reincarnation explain the Big Bang, or how we got here, or what the purpose of the life is? To reincarnate? Why? Okay, maybe based on your good and bad deeds you get to lower and higher self, but even in Hinduism they have a concept of one God that got corrupted, obviously. But this reincarnation process that he's talking about comes from, is it Brahma? The ultimate source of everything. This concept comes from one God, or it comes from a deity. Who started this reincarnation process? How did that begin, right? So there must be a creator then. If you believe in reincarnation, you can be an atheist, but he's not an atheist because atheists wouldn't believe in reincarnation. Atheist doesn't believe anything happens. But many people don't want to go there because they know this is a stupid position to have, because it's illogical, because we know there's so many signs and emotions and everything in our life points to this thing being more than the material world we can see. Whether you take drugs, whether you do psychedelics, whether you do meditation, or you just simply realize the matter, the quantum vacuums, all these things, there's clearly something else going on here. There's clearly some force people feel, and everybody can tell you, I think we're part of something bigger. They just don't know how to express it. People don't really go that atheistic route because that leads to nihilism, and that's like a complete self-destruction, which I've been to. Most people then pick like these Eastern religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, because they don't have the concept of God and they don't have the concept of accountability. So you basically just say, okay, something happens, life goes on, we are in a different form or different body, but there's no accountability for my deeds. This other life doesn't tell me how I need to live this life. There's no connection. So you're trying to, okay, that's nice because you don't want to feel it, but the Abrahamic faiths tell you, no, your afterlife will be direct result of how you live this life. So it actually forces you to be good. It's just the most rational choice. Like, am I crazy? Think about this. There's no God. Nothing happens when you die. Maybe something happens, I don't care. That's a position you can take. Okay, I don't want to think about God. I don't think he exists. There's no evidence, so I'm going to but I think something happens, so reincarnation or some other form, aliens maybe. I don't know. Maybe we're part of some virtual reality, whatever. So that's kind of his take, New Age spirituality. No, there's actually God, and but all you need to do is to just believe Jesus died for your sins, and you're good, baby. You can go to heaven. And then maybe there's, an explanation that no, there is a God, and you have to just believe in him and avoid the worship of false idols, and you'll be okay if you follow the guidance and the messenger. But the only faith, the only religion which clearly says there's only one God is Islam. Okay, Judaism, Christianity claims to say it, but Islam is pure monotheism against shirk, against arguing with God as rabbis. What is that? Or, believing in Trinity and all that, corrupting the oneness of God. So, if you just read about Tawhid, if you just read about Allah and who he is, it makes total sense. And it's the most logical and rational explanation of the universe. There's just one God who created the universe. He's not part of the creation, and and all these attributes belong to him. And most people know this already. They are born with this knowledge. But most people believe there's a God. So that God is Allah. There's no other way. Because if you wouldn't educate people about Jesus, they wouldn't say the God is Jesus. Or if they know God can't make mistakes. Like, that's kind of like a natural inclination that, okay, if there's this super force and this energy, obviously it's like all powerful. Like, people know the attributes already in them. So if God can make mistake and lose battle or lose arguments to like rabbis, then he's not God.
Religion, we have something called karma. So it's your good deeds come back to you, and your bad deeds in the afterlife come back to affect you. And that's why I feel like the period you have from like being a child, growing up, just progressing through life, it's so important. But still, like, that thought lingers in the back of my mind. Is there something that will come to affect me?
Well,
that's a good way to put it. This good and bad and kind of the sense of justice and living life according to some moral conduct, it makes sense. But again, who put in motion these good or bad deeds? So this karma thing didn't just create itself. This karmic law, if you believe in it, even it's not in Islam, but if you believe in this law, it has to be created by someone. Like all the laws in the universe, law of gravity, karmic law, whatever you believe in or is evident, has to have a foundation. So God exists. So then just ask, okay, what does God want? Okay, we know about good and bad deeds in Islam as well. And we know they're going to be weighed in, and the good deeds should overpower the bad deeds. And so that makes sense. On what happens afterwards, you don't have this reincarnation. You have a paradise or a hellfire. The karmic thing, it's an attempt to do the same thing. However, you're kind of disconnecting it from God and just kind of like creating your own thing. And I know this question sounds for atheists or people who don't believe, like, oh, this is just some guy claiming he knows the truth, blah, blah, blah. Well, I used to be one of you guys, so just read the Quran, okay?
You go to see, let's say, a gravestone, and there's a dash between 1900 and 1970. The most important thing is that dash.
What happened during that dash?
Yes.
the time that you lived and what you were able to accomplish, and what kind of a legacy did you leave to your family and your heirs is very, very important to me.
That makes sense, you know, that's a healthy approach. This life is real, but again, if you don't have this guidance, you're gonna live life according to your desires, according to your understanding, according to your subjective things. Oh, I want to do this, I want to be a painter, I want to do that. And at the end of the day, it's not going to help you figure out these big life questions. So it's better to have a balance and have like boundaries for, okay, this is permissible, this is not permissible, this is how I'm going to navigate. This is kind of having a GPS in life, because we get lost all the time. I get lost in this dunya all the time. And if I didn't have a GPS now, I can't imagine my life. Like really, to be honest, I cannot imagine my life anymore without Islam, because anytime I'm off course, get back on get back on track and just worship Allah, bro. That's all you've been created for. All this nonsense about business, all this YouTube, all this other stuff, that's just your ego. That's just your, okay, you need to live in this world, so you do this. But most important thing is your heart, is to preserve your heart and increasing good deeds, subhanallah, so that we can attain and pass the judgment day. And it's to have this clarity about these life questions, it's such a blessing. I would never trade this for anything in this world, because it's worthless. This entire thing is worthless compared to the knowledge that Islam gives you about your life, about the purpose, about the hereafter. There's no other system that can compete with this. You have to be a Muslim to understand the feelings, because I was a Christian and I was an atheist, and I know how this different people think and what happens in your day-to-day. And there's no comparison between that and being a Muslim. There's no way, bro. Sorry to say it bluntly. And I can't say it because I experienced all of these phases. And I believed in Christianity, I believed in atheism, I believed in nihilism, and now I believe in Islam fully. So it's the best. It's the best. Because it's not even like I have some sort of faith in it. It's just I know it's true. You know, like there's no question, because there's so much evidence to disprove or to kind of say Islam or Quran is not true or all this. You have to go to so much extent to kind of like mix all things and just kind of like make your own story about why, oh, maybe Muhammad came up with this. And come on, bro. Like, just look at it objectively, remove bias, and you'll be a Muslim. There's no other way around this, bro. I remember as a child thinking about this, and now the old people think about this. And if you haven't, in that dash, if you haven't figured out what's the purpose, then your life was a waste. And you're going to be discarded in the trash in the afterlife. That's actually what's going to happen, because you didn't connect. You didn't figure it out. So just spend more time on this. All right. Assalamu alaikum, and I'll see you in the next video.